Alright, so we are in section 10.4, linking verbs and predicate words. Our objectives for this lesson are to distinguish between action verbs and linking verbs, to identify predicate nouns and predicate adjectives, and to use linking verbs and predicate words correctly in our writing. So we've already established what we know what action verbs are, so what we're going to be doing is adding linking verbs to that equation. And these are going to be next to action verbs, the most common types of verbs that you are going to come across in your reading or writing. Alright, so what is a linking verb? Great question. Action verbs, which we talked about in section 10.1, tell what the subject of a sentence does. Alright, we think of run, jump, swim, play. Anything that would require any mental or physical action would be considered an action verb. Now the other type of verb, which we are learning about today, tells what the subject is or is like. These verbs are what we now know as linking verbs. A linking verb is an incredibly crucial part of the sentence because it connects the subject of the sentence with a noun or an adjective in the predicate. Now, this sounds very fancy altogether, but just like usual, when we practice, things start to come together, and it'll make much more sense to you as we begin to work on this in class in the predicate nouns and adjectives. A predicate noun is a noun that follows a linking verb. It tells what the subject is. So predicate noun, as you can kind of tell, it is going to be located in the predicate part of the sentence, and the part of speech will be a noun. That's why we call it a predicate noun. So pretty simple. Likewise, a predicate adjective is an adjective that follows a linking verb. It describes the subject by telling what it is like. Okay, so again, a predicate adjective is going to be a form of speech of an adjective, which is usually used to modify or describe a noun or pronoun. Okay, so it's a describer. The adjectives would be like yellow, tall, thin, exciting, miserable, any type of word that would describe or modify another noun in the sentence. Likewise, it's going to also be located in the predicate part of the sentence. And so let's look at a couple of examples, and you tell me whether or not you can find either a predicate noun or a predicate adjective in the following sentence. So sentence number 1. Sam is a pitcher. Now I want you to always remember this, and if you need to, please mark this in the margin of your slide here. Every single sentence will have a noun of some kind, and every single sentence will always, always, always have a verb of some kind. And as you can see, we are in a very, very long unit all about verbs, so there are a million types of verbs, it seems. However, there will always be at least one type. And so if there's not an action verb, it will be a linking verb. So don't be intimidated if you don't see something that looks like an action verb or a traditional verb. You have to identify which words are going to be the best choice to consider to be a linking verb. And part of that is going to be helpful as you identify what a predicate noun or predicate adjective is. So we see in example number 1, Sam is a pitcher. Our subject is Sam. Our linking verb is going to be is. Believe it or not, is a verb, and it is considered a linking verb as well as a helping verb, which we will talk about later. So we are trying to examine and connect the subject to the predicate. So this word is telling what Sam is, which is a pitcher. So pitcher is going to be a predicate noun. We know this because it's the noun part of speech, that it is a person, place, thing, or idea. We also know that it is something that we're using to describe what Sam is. Okay, let's look at number 2. The pitcher is skillful. Once again, in this sentence, pitcher will be our subject. Is going to be our linking verb. Is skillful. Skillful is describing the pitcher. It is not a noun, it is an adjective, so now we know that this is going to be a predicate adjective. A very valuable tool that you can have as you progress and try to identify these linking verbs is to actually memorize and identify what some of the more common linking verbs you're going to come across would be. Remember, a linking verb is telling us what the subject is like. So in this case, you're going to see a few examples that could go either category. It really depends on the way that it is used in the sentence, so don't just memorize these as always linking verbs, because it very well might become an action verb in another situation. So one of the examples that we have is be, become, seem, appear, look, grow, turn, taste, feel, smell, and sound. Now if we looked at a few of these, you could circle which words in this list could go either way unless you saw how they were used in the sentence. For example, the word turn, you could physically turn, and that could be used in an action verb as well. But if it's used in a way to describe what the subject is like, it could very well be a linking verb. So make sure that you don't just look at the verb and assume that it's one way or the other. Always look at the way that it is going to be used. But this list at least will give you an idea of some of the more common linking verbs that you might come across, so you might be able to at least set up a red flag when you see them in your writing so you can make sure that you're using them correctly and that you are identifying whether or not these are in fact linking verbs. Alright, so I'd like to practice with you. I will help you walk through the first two. I will ask you to pause the video and be able to complete the next three by yourself, and then I will go through and check these along with you. So what I'd like for you to do is to underline each verb and write whether it is an action verb or a linking verb. If it is a linking verb, then please circle the predicate noun or predicate adjective. Write whether it is a predicate noun or a predicate adjective on the side of your answers. So number one, our pitcher appears very nervous today. Our subject is pitcher, and our verb is going to be appears. And in this case, we are looking at the entire sentence is describing what the pitcher is like. So our pitcher appears very nervous today. Therefore, appears is going to be the linking verb. So now that we found our linking verb, let's see if we have a predicate noun or predicate adjective. Our word here is actually going to be nervous because it's telling what our pitcher appears to be like. Nervous is an adjective, so we know that this is going to be a predicate adjective. Number two, he shows a serious lack of concentration. He is going to be our subject, and the word shows will be our verb. Now this is where we have to identify whether shows will be a linking verb or an action verb. He shows a serious lack of concentration. The sentence itself is telling us what he does, not what he is like. So shows is going to be an action verb, and therefore we don't need to look any further for a predicate noun or predicate adjective. Number three, the catcher ran very quickly. Our verb here is going to be the word ran. Ran is a very physical, action-oriented word, and in this sentence, the word ran is telling us what the catcher does. So we know that ran is actually going to be action as well. Now, I'd like for you to pause here. I know I said the next three, but I would request that you would look at numbers 4 and 5 and try to accomplish these on your own to see if you kind of got the grasp of what a linking verb is. Once you have finished checking these on your own, please push play and I will go through each of these with you as well. Number 4, she seems quite agile. Our sentence subject is going to be she, and our verb will be seems. This sentence is describing what she is like, so we know that we are looking here at a linking verb. The word that is being used to describe how she seems is agile, and we know that agile is an adjective. It is not a noun. It is not a physical object that you can see, think, or touch. So we know that this is our predicate adjective. Number 5, she caught the ball. Our verb here is going to be caught, and caught is telling us what she does. So that means that it's going to be an action verb. and we don't need to look any further for the predicate noun or predicate adjective. However, if you wanted to practice finding the direct object in the sentence, we know that we could find the word ball, but however, there will not be a predicate adjective or predicate noun to look for in the sentence. Regarding homework, what I would encourage you to do is to complete the assignments that were requested in class. Always look back if you have questions in your guided notes about the action verbs and the linking verbs. As a closer, I would highly recommend that you remember that the difference between an action verb and a linking verb is that the action verb is telling what the subject does. The linking verb is telling what the subject is or is like. So go forward and try to identify which nouns are linking verbs and which nouns are action verbs as you practice. And always look to see if there is in fact a predicate noun or a predicate adjective. It might be tricky at first, but I know that with a little bit of practice, you're going to do just fine. So as always, please bring questions to class. I'm happy to review those in class, and I'm sure that by the end of this week or next week, you will feel much more confident in your ability to find linking verbs.